Hey there, my friends. This is Bill MacDonald, the Common Sense Math Doctor, and I have a question for you. What do you do when you spend all year working hard, helping your students learn math concepts and skills, and you get to May and still have multiple kids who get 50% of the questions correct, 40, 30? Well, you go to Bill MacDonald, the Common Sense Math Doctor. What I've done for you fourth grade teachers that you'll see in this video, just one question, is taken all of the questions from 2019, place them because of the transition that's going to happen. All third through eighth grade teachers are going to have anywhere between 7 to 8 2-point questions where you have to say the answer to the question, and then you've got to be able to somehow use the problem. The question is the TEK, the Texas Extension Knowledge and Skills, and the problem has the information that you're going to use to solve it. And so when you're doing that, you need to understand that they're not just going to be asking your kids now for the answer. They're going to want to be able to know basically what you used to do, strategies on the side on the paper, and for many of you online in your different programs, uh, the online programs that allow you to annotate, you have to are going to get that extra point by actually showing the computer how you got the answer, what numbers did you use, how did you solve it. So what I'm going to do today and for the rest of the next couple of weeks is take one problem a day from the 2021 test and show you a mass surgery practice test that I've done for both 2019 and 2021. And you're going to see that I've done every single question for you in multiple choice format, in the way it was worded, the keyword strand, the look of the test. Because let's just admit it, that all the time, it's not that you didn't teach the skill. Sometimes you did a great job getting the concept across, but it was tested in terms of the question in a different way, or the problem was set up a different way, or it's possible the answers did not look like the kids were used to seeing it. So I'm going to highly suggest that you take advantage. I'm only going to have this special test on sale for a week or so for $5, just like I'm doing a special on everything else. I know that as teachers we're kind of low on money, and so I try to make very high quality products and materials for you at very reasonable prices. So if you have a math teacher friend in fourth grade or third or fifth, because if the fourth graders went into fifth grade doing this poorly on the questions I'm about to show you, then we need to review a lot of these questions, because if their readiness standards in fourth grade, they would be supporting in fifth grade. If they were supporting in fourth grade, that means that third grade had to know them and they still didn't do well. Again, fifth grade teachers, fourth grade teachers, third grade teachers need to be able to practice these. So before I get into the problem, I'm just going to fly through the summary of all of the questions so you can kind of see for yourself. This is for 2021. The reason it's number 11 through number 23 there is that the 2019 test that I made up from the most difficult questions has open-ended and multiple choice. So what I've done for you teachers in Texas is I tell you the question that it came from, the state average percent correct. So that's just showing you that it wasn't just a problem with your classroom or your campus district. It was across the entire state. That it's also what reporting category it came from, the student expectation, and whether it was supporting a readiness. But probably half the teachers that I talk to on my math and writing and reading programs, my clubs, are outside of Texas. And so I want to make sure whatever your skill set is, the blue words are what is the specific skill that's going to be practiced. And so if you look here, all I've done for the 13 problems for 2021 is look at the questions that had the lowest percent correct, because there's 14 on this one. And if you look there, 50, 40, 50, 50, 30, 50, 40, 35, 18, 33, 51, and 30, 45, 52. So I'll just kind of, what I'm going to do is just go straight down the list for you. And in the comment section of each video, I'll go ahead and attach a link to the fourth grade test. I've already done this for third and fourth grade. So if you happen to teach third grade, go ahead and feel free to send me your name in the comment section in third grade, and I'll send you the link to the third grade as well. But for the sake of staying focused, we'll talk to fourth grade today. This is the same thing, but in third grade. As you can see, 48, 30%, 35, 50, 57, 28, 33, 59. So I took the 10 questions that got the lowest scores, and I made my own little math surgery practice test in both multiple choice and open-ended constructed response format for all of the questions. So let's go ahead and look exactly at one problem. My question number 11 came from question 8 of the test. It was the state average correct of 39%. That means not even 40%, not even 4 out of 10 kids got it right. Reporting category 1, student expectation 4.2G, readiness. And it is equations that will show equivalent decimals and fractions. So what I've done here is I circled on the decimal presentation of the numbers all of the decimals in red. So if you look at my picture here, you see a red ball, and that made my picture a little bigger so you can see me. When the whole number is finished, it's like a stop sign. 37 and I pretended to bounce on the floor. Okay. 8 hundredths. And so my kids have to know, how do I tell the difference between tenths and hundredths and thousandths if I'm in upper grades? Also, if your number has commas in it, you're not stopping the whole number, you're just slowing it down. So at the Dollar Tree, they have these really cool light up balls, 2 different kinds. One that has glitter inside, and you can get them in red and yellow. Slow down the whole number with the billions, millions, and thousands, comma. The red, stop the whole number with a decimal. That way, as we're reading from left to right, we're saying the number, and something went wrong here because this question, because your students were having to look at 4 different decimals and compare them to 4 mixed numbers to find out which one does 2 things. And if you look at me, silence is deadly in a classroom of auditory learners. So if your kids just look, and I'm using my Christmas glasses before they get too out of season, the decimal has to look right compared to the whole number and fraction that is next to it. But unless we say those numbers out loud and hear and listen to what they sound like, and these are my little antennas here. I'm going to bend them over so you can see them better, because the green screens don't do very well with anything that's green that you're holding or wearing. Okay, so what's going to have to happen when you're doing decimals and fractions is they're going to have to look the same and sound the same. So I'm going to show you using my mathematics chart. How do I check all 4 of these one letter at a time to make sure? So what they're saying here is, I'm going to say it like a student, right? 37.08 is equal to 38 and 8/10. Okay, so in the same way that you're going to say 37 and 8/100ths, you would, when you're separating a whole number from the fraction, 38 and 8/10. Now, I already heard that doesn't sound the same, but some kids don't know that when you have a decimal followed by a 0, you don't say tenths. You have a decimal followed by a 0 and an 8, you would say hundredths, but some kids don't know that. So let's take a look at A, 37 and 8/100ths compared to 38 and 8/10. Well, I already know the number is wrong, because if the decimals are supposed to be equivalent, it's very important that we see, oh, I'm going to circle my little and, because I'm going to connect to 2 things here. The decimal and the fraction have to be what? Equivalent. They have to have the same value when you look at them, when you see them, and when you say them. So let's take a look at what letter A, B, C, and D look like on my mathematics chart. Okay, so I'm going to open it up for you. There is A, 37 and 8/100ths was the fraction. That's the first one. That's what it looks like. And then when I slide it over here and I convert it to a decimal, what are we saying differently? Let me move my face out of the way there a little bit. See if it lets you see the hello face. Move away, please. How do you move? Okay, I'll have to just slide left and right for you. So 37, the first number, and 8/100ths is the same thing as 37 and 8. You say the number and then you say its address, 800. And if you want to do a teachable moment, 800ths is the same as, you're using money, 8 cents of the next dollar, 8% of the next whole number, 8% of the next whole number. So that's what that one looks like. And so the second number said 38 and 8/10. So I can already stop, but just for the sake of practicing plugging in, The second number said 38 and 8 is your number. So if you think of a house that you live in, your number is always followed by its location, the street. So if I live on 10th Street or 100th Street, if you want to think of it like that, 8/10. So since they don't look the same or sound the same, I'm going to come over here to the left side and say, I'm going to eliminate letter A because the whole number is not the same and neither is the fraction or the decimal when you convert it to a decimal. Let's take a look at letter B. We have an X on it. That means we're going to find something wrong very quickly. We've got the two choices, 37 and 88 hundredths compared to 37 and 8 hundredths. I can already hear that it doesn't sound the same. So we'll make sure it doesn't sound the same or look the same so that we know that we're doing the right thing. So here we go. 37, whole number on my place value chart, and fraction, as you can see, it's listed right there. 88 hundredths compared to first number, 37 and 88 hundredths. Again, you say the number, and then you say its address where it stops. It's like the mailman delivering the mail. He doesn't stop until the hundredths place after he said, okay, there's 88 on this street. What is this street? Hundredths. Okay. So then we compare it to, let's compare it to the other number, 37 and 8 hundredths. Well, that doesn't sound the same or look the same. And then 8 hundredths is not the same thing as 88 hundredths. So, and I want you to notice that I did circle all of the decimals red, and we're going to eliminate B because it doesn't look the same or sound the same. Letter C. And you're asking, do I have to get your place value? No, if you just get your own and have your kids practice, you can use graph paper or you can just turn regular notebook paper. Instead of the lines going this way, just turn it so that the line, instead of the lines going this way on a piece of paper the way they are, the lines can go this way. Then you can have your ones, tens, hundredths going from right to left, or you can have your ones, tenths, hundredths going to the right. All right. Just trying to show you a way, because a lot of you do my math trainings and you already have these. So just going to show you how to implement them. So letter C says 37. Let me get my ball ready. My red ball because of the decimal. And 8/10 should look and sound like 37 and 8 hundredths. Well, the whole number sounds the same and looks the same, but the decimal and fraction part do not. But we have to go ahead and convert them over here just to see, to make sure. Letter C, 37 and 37 and 8/10 as a whole number and fraction compared to 37 and 8/10 when you move it into decimal form. And you can already see it since it doesn't line up. We're going to have to get rid of this one as well. The second number that they gave us, 37 and 8 hundredths decimal, 37 and 8 hundredths. So since the fraction doesn't look the same and the decimal form doesn't look the same, we're also going to have to eliminate letter C. Finally, letter D. Hopefully this one's right because it's the only one I got left. We have 37 and 800ths. Is it equal to 37 and 800ths? And so, since this is the way it looked like on the test, apparently many kids did not know how to compare a whole number and a decimal to a whole number with a fraction. That's going to be my guess. So the more we practice this, I call it ET. If you do extra times or extra time on a skill, your kids will definitely get better. So let's take a look. Does it look the same in fraction form and in decimal form both ways? 37 and 800ths, 37 and 800ths when we put it as a fraction, 37 and 8, remember, hundredths when I put it as a decimal, compared to 37 and 800ths when I put the second number as a whole number and fraction. That's the way it is, compared to 37 and 800ths. So since this is the only one that looks the same, the letter that we're going to choose, and let me very quickly write my rules. Did I read the question, underline and label it? Yes, you can see I underlined some things and I labeled my little stick man. I always like to think of and as somebody's face, and whenever it has something in front and something in back, they're doing two things. Okay, so we eliminated 3. 1, 2, 3. We read the problem, underlined and labeled in the problem as well. So 2 check marks. And when we checked, letters A, B, and C did not look the same, but letter D did. So I'm going to circle letter D, place a D up here on the top. And if you're doing annotations, you can do this on your test. If you have your kids make their own place value turn the test, they can practice using mine or one that you make with graph paper, so they can quickly write out their whole numbers and decimals compared to their whole numbers and fractions. Okay, now I do want to show you that it's important that you understand that sometimes they're going to ask your kids some constructed response type questions, and they're going to be worth 1 point. And it's coming from the very first category. It's a number that I made that's in the form of a grid. So let's take a look at how I change this same exact question to a grid response. Okay. Write a decimal that is equivalent to 37 and 800ths. Write your answer on the grid below. Be sure to use the correct value. So remember, I told you when I was using my fingers, ones, tens, hundreds going left, ones, tenths, hundreds going right. So since it said 37 in the whole number, my little red ball, my stop sign, the whole number's finished, 37, and that's what I got. And I'm going to put an 8 in the hundreds place because we've got ones, tenths, hundreds. And since I cannot leave the other number blank, got my pencil here somewhere. 37. And 800ths. What probably happened if your students had this as a grid response, they put the 8 there and forgot to say in their heads ones, tenths, hundredths, and the number 8 belongs in hundredths, so they would need a 0 there. And so your grid response for 1 point would be 3 tens called 30, 7 ones known as 7, 0 tenths, and 8 hundredths. And so this page is number 18 in the document, and the multiple choice one came from number 32. All right. So what if they say we want it to be one of those 7 or 8 questions, like I mentioned, they're going to ask you to justify how can you use the text as evidence. What is it that they might ask? Well, how many whole numbers are there? 37. What is the fraction that's there? 800ths. Or what does the fraction look like in decimal form? 0.08. So there you have it. That's question number 11 on my math surgery, which would be question number 1 if you're just looking at the 2021 test. And I really highly recommend, don't reinvent the wheel. You don't have to make them up because I've already done the problems for you. The 14 most difficult problems are written as you saw in both multiple choice and this question grid format, and you can practice saying, what's another example? Let's do an extension. What questions could they ask? It would be, what is the answer for the 1 point? And how can I use numbers in the problem or the question to be able to give textual evidence of how I got my answer? So that's what's going to happen a lot. So bless you guys. Have a great day. If you're a 3rd, 4th, or 5th grade math teacher and your kids are struggling with whole numbers, with fractions, and whole numbers with decimals, this lets you practice 2 skills at the same time. I hope that you found something helpful. Remember, as a quick review, the whole number fraction compared to the whole number with a decimal has to look the same. You have to see the same thing, and it has to sound the same when you hear it, and actually listen when you're saying it. It should sound the same. And again, we didn't need the yellow ball in this case because we didn't have any commas to slow the whole number down, but we did need the decimal when we're traveling across the whole number border to go into the decimal border side of the world. So you guys have a great day. Share this video, tag a math teacher friend, and be blessed.